Hi, this is Anna, and this is Check It at the Round Table, where we discuss movies, books, music, and stuff. Today we're discussing episode 4 of the My Tooth, Your Love Taiwanese BL drama series. So, this episode opens with a flashback to Bai's time when he was a child, and he's flipping on lights. And it also has this little poem that says that in my own house, I am king of my castle, and no one can discover my secrets. We then go to Bai now, and he's flipping the light on and off in his office and looking at the pictures of his mom, his dad, his sister, and him. And he's just got tears running down his face. We don't know why. I think at this point, most people who are watching are probably thinking that for some reason, Bai thinks that he somehow was responsible for his parents' death, although I'm sure he wasn't. But somehow that's all wrapped up in his tooth phobia, apparently, or dental phobia. But anyway, it's at this point that Jin is at the door, and he's basically going, should I let you in? Should I not let you in? Well, then we go to, he has let Jin in, and Jin is there eating some food with him, etc. And he's telling Jin these terrible jokes about Ming. I'm not sure if it's maybe in Taiwan it's a big deal. I'm I don't really get the jokes, but anyway, and he wants him to tell Jin to tell him a joke. Well, Jin says yes, run to the restroom, but he's really going in there trying to scroll through his phone and find a good joke and figure out how to say it back. And so he comes back out, and Bai is almost asleep on the sofa, curled up with a pillow, and he's trying to stay awake for Jin's joke, but he's sitting there going, and he falls asleep. So Jin kind of helps him get more comfortable, puts a blanket over him, whatever, gets him some stuffed animals, and leaves the house. Now, before he leaves, though, Bai has a really bad nightmare, and basically is I didn't mean to do it. And Jin's going, I wonder what it is that he's so worried that he did that gives him insomnia at night. Now, Jin also saying there, I'm sure it wasn't anything, really bad, but he feels very terrible about something. So Jin leaves, and the next morning, Bai wakes up with all these stuffed animals surrounding him. And he goes to check on Jin, and Jin is at the office very sick with a cold and fever, and looking at his teeth molds, which he really likes, because he was telling Bai the night before that the thing that really gets him excited is looking at people's teeth molds. I'm like, we all have interesting hobbies, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, he's looking at the tooth molds and drinking hot water and trying not to sneeze too much. And Bai comes in and goes, you are sick. And he's going, it is the fever, is the body's natural working to get me well. And he's like, I don't care, you're going to see a doctor. And Jin's like, I am a doctor. And Bai's like, no, you are a dentist. It is not the same as a doctor. We're going to the doctor, we're going to get you some medicine, we're going to take you home. And then Bai just lugs him out of his office, takes him down the stairs, and tells the receptionist that the doctor is going to be gone and he's taking him elsewhere, and they got to figure it out. And I love how Bai takes initiative in this situation where usually he is not particularly good at taking initiative. It's kind of like Jen said in one scene, I think it was in an earlier episode, that Bai is very outgoing and he's very gregarious, and he seems to be more of a commanding presence, but in certain situations he is totally the exact opposite. But in this situation, he is being like Mr. Command person, and he's taking Jin to the doctor. Then he takes Jin home to his apartment. He gets him some kanji to help him heal, and he feeds him that so he can take his medication. He then make sure that he actually goes to the restroom, because he was trying to figure out why the bathroom was in the closet. And so he really just kind of helps him with all that, make sure he gets some clean clothes on, because he's sweat through his others from the fever, cleans him up a bit, and he's getting ready to leave. And that's where we're at the end of the episode. And when he's getting ready to leave, Jin pulls him back and says, you're tired too, you must rest. And so he kind of sits there like, not really sure what to do here. And Jin is very fevered, so he's not really thinking in his normal self. But he says, hand, you need to put your hand here on me, and then we can both sleep. And so they both just kind of conk on the bed. Also, simultaneously, we have the other couple of Alex and Hee Quyen, who Alex is trying to take care of Hee Quyen, make sure he doesn't, erupt. I don't know why. It's like I was watching a YouTube video. Actually, I don't drink myself. It's not that I have anything against alcohol at all, but I just don't drink because of a health condition. But I was watching I think it was called the Cut. Anyway, I don't know. There's a truth or dare with a queer mom and her daughter. And it was about basically what life was like for them as a family. And I thought this will be interesting. But one thing that I really liked about that episode was the fact that the mom said, when asked a question, the daughter said, what was one thing that all parents told you that you found out to be an utter lie when you yourself became a parent? She said, oh, that's easy. Teenagers. Everyone in America says that teenagers are going to be rebellious, stupid, immature, horrible human beings for their teenagers. She said, that is not true at all with my kids. She's like, you might do something, you might do drugs, but you will come and tell me. You might go have premarital sex, but you will come after a short period of time and tell me that you did this, and we will work through this. She said, it's not something that was this awful, drawn out, horrid battle. And I was sitting there while I'm watching this Taiwanese drama, and I'm going, with a Hee Quyen character, I'm like, he does have some anger management issues. He is immature, but I'm going, I love how Alex deals with this when he's dealing with Hee Quyen, and not like, I know later on in the series they're supposed to develop this romantic relationship, but right now I really like how he's like, when Hee Quyen is mad at his mom and he throws the phone, Alex just looks at him and goes, the phone is not what you're mad at, Hee Quyen. Why don't you deal with what you're mad at? And don't throw inanimate objects that have nothing to do with the situation. And Hee Quyen's like, oh, no one's ever talked to me like that before. And I'm going, Alex is really good at this kind of pep talk. And it's like when Hee Quyen is getting ready to open the shop, he's got his sleeves up on his shirt because he's trying to be cool, and he thinks that maybe showing his elbows will make him not elbows, his shoulders more attractive. I really don't understand that about certain guys, but anyway. During that time, Hee Quyen's mom comes into the restaurant and tries to talk to Hee Quyen. Does not go well, because all she says is, you need to come home. And he's like, no, I'm not going to come home. I have a place to stay. I'm not going to come home and deal with you and dad being mad at me for whatever is next and the things that we get mad at. And then I get upset and it just boils over. And so Alex said, ma'am, can I talk to you for a minute about Hee Quyen over here at the table and discuss this with you? And so Alex sits down with her. We don't know what Alex tells Hee Quyen's mom, but she leaves calmly, and Hee Quyen comes back out, and Hee Quyen goes, what did you tell her? He's like, you didn't even flirt with her. What did you do? And he's like, I just told her that, basically you need your space, she needs her space, and if you want to be treated with respect, then maybe you need to show others respect. I took your mom to the table. I calmly talked to her. And, clothes make the man, manners make the man. Pull those sleeves down. And he just goes and pulls the sleeves down. And that's how he kind of deals with Hee Quyen. But my point in this segue from the mom and her daughter saying, teenagers aren't really that worried. It's like, I think, with the kids I've known, because like when I'm not teaching English and I'm not doing podcasts or YouTubes or my business degree, I do work with kids sometimes. And I think the interesting thing about kids is I usually work with kids who are like anywhere from 12 to 15 years old. And not that I haven't worked with some littles, I have. They're absolutely wonderful too. But I think that people are like, when I talk about possibly adopting, when it comes up, they're like, you want to adopt older children? Don't you know that you have to deal with those horrid teenagers? It's kind of like when people think about adopting younger, so like, you have to maybe deal with the terrible twos. I'm like, nothing has to be terrible. I think that the thing that most people forget about this whole thing that we call parenting, as it were, if we even want to label it, because I'm like, I'm not really even sure what you call it at a certain point, but labels, they bother me sometimes. It's like, I really wish I didn't have that, but I was like, labels, why do we need labels? But I'm like, kids are usually quite, not always rational, but I'm like, usually if you sit down and talk with a kid, you can figure out what's going on with them. It's like, I can't help but look back to like when I was a kid, and I'm like, I really haven't changed much from when I was a child to when I was adult. I mean, I think I always kind of was the way I am. But I'm like, anytime that I usually did get upset when I was a teenager or when I was a kid, it was usually because nothing was explained. It was just like, you must do this. And it's like, or it was explained, but I couldn't really agree with the explanation because it didn't seem particularly linear to my thoughts. And so I was like, you know, I'm not saying that if you explain everything to your children, they will get it. I don't think that's the case. But I think sometimes sitting down with a kid and going, I don't think it's a good idea for you to do drugs. And this is why. And they can reasonably see them going, most people are going to sit there and go, I don't think that's a good idea either. When peer pressure and extra factors are taken out. But my point is like with He Queen, yes, he is impulsive. Yes, he doesn't do the right thing sometimes. But I have to say that I far less dislike his character than his parents, who just fly mad at every little thing. I'm going, living in a house with that kind of drama consistently, it's no wonder that He Queen is not a well-adjusted humanoid at 19 or 18, almost 19. But the thing is with Alex, he's just sitting there going, you're a young adult. You've got to figure this out. And if you want people to treat you a certain way, then you need to have the courtesy to treat them a certain way too. It doesn't mean that you agree with them. It doesn't mean that you even like them. It doesn't mean you want to sit at home and spend endless time with them. It just means that if you want to be treated a certain way, then you need to treat those people the same way that you wish to be treated. And I think in many ways, that's why, like with He Queen, I don't know how he and Alex end up together, or if they even do end up together. But I think one of the reasons that He Queen would end up liking Alex is because he's probably the first person who has ever talked to He Queen like he is on the same level as a human. Now, I'm not trying to be bad, but I think that a lot of times with teenagers and with children, it would go so much better if we treated them like everybody else when it comes to how we relate to them, instead of talking down to a child or sitting there and making them feel like maybe they're less of a human because they're not as old as we are. I'm not saying that, of course, as an adult, there are certain decisions you have to make for your kids or for the kids in your care. Of course you do, because you're the adult that's going to eventually fall on you. But at some point and in some situations, I'm like, treating your children like they are just a smaller humanoid, that might not be such a bad idea. And I really like how with Alex and with He Queen, it's like Alex ends up getting cut in the back room when he's trying to get He Queen a bed to sleep on that's better than the sofa in the bar. But he ends up getting cut, and He Queen's like, you're hurt. We have to fix this. And Alex is like, it's okay. It's not a big deal. And He Queen is like, no, you're a lady. We're going to go fix this. But He Queen has no idea how to take care of it. I don't know why in BL drama we always have somebody getting cut, and we have to use, the cotton swab and the cotton balls and the gauze that we roll around the arm. And I was talking to one of my Korean friends about it, and she's like, Anna, it's the same in K-dramas. It's like, I said, well, is it that they don't have Band-Aids in Asia? Because I'm going, here, we just slap a Band-Aid on and we move on with our day. I mean, I've never seen anyone go, I mean, there was that one time which I cut myself excessively when I was trying to open a can, and I did need stitches, but we were too far away, and that caused some moments and a lot of roll bandage because I was kind of bleeding quite heavily. But anyway, and I'm like, in general, we just slap a band-aid. And she's like, they do it for drama because they think it makes the couples more attached to one another to use cause to bandage themselves instead of band-aid. I'm like, there are many ways I think you could grow close to your significant other, but using cause to wrap a wound really doesn't seem like one of those top of the list items. I'm just saying. But anyway, so Hequin is trying to figure out how to bandage. He tries to slap a gauze on there first, and Alex is like, you need to clean the wound first, and then you put the Band-Aid on. He's like, if you don't know how to do this, why are you even trying, Hequin? And he goes, because I can learn. And I think that is one thing with Hequin. I think that little scene really encapsulates Hequin, because I'm like, he isn't at this point the person that he needs to be. He's very willful. He's very angsty. He's a bit sulky, but he can learn how to be a better person. And I think that's going to be interesting to see as this story progresses. Because I think, the best relationships in a story are the ones that help that other character, both characters become better for having known the other person, whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's just that random acquaintance you happen to meet. They become better characters because they knew one another. They had that other person in their life. And I think it'd be interesting to see with Alex and Hequin how that goes. But that is my review of episode 4 of My Tooth for Your Love, the Taiwanese BL drama series. You can watch this on Viki Rukaton, and it has subtitles in many different languages. Check it. Bye-bye.